This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Elmec and their EV Duty Smart Home Charger.
Alfa Romeo is one of the oldest car brands in the world. As a matter of fact, it is older than Ferrari. Alfa is known for its racing heritage and building sexy sports cars. A couple of them being the GTA, Spider, 33 Stradale, and more recently the 8C and the 4C with the carbon tub. Behind me is a 2024 an Alfa Romeo Tonale Veloce plug-in hybrid. This is Alfa Romeo's first hybrid vehicle, and it's also the first model from the ground up under the Stellantis name. Let's find out if it is worthy of the Alfa badge. First, we look at the looks. What do you think, Nile?
Well, first off, the color on this car is fantastic, although it will cost you about $2,000 Canadian to get it. But I think it's kind of worth it. I mean, if you're going to be going all out, you might as well get something flashy, because there's no way you'll ever lose this in the parking lot, especially if the parking lot's kind of like this. There's nobody here. And then the rims also are about $2,000, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. But
they're
you
kind of
do
worth
get
it too.
But you do get the circles and the
It's
heritage, the Alfa Romeo, the Italian.
Oh yeah,
right.
There's a lot of styling that's reminiscent of the Stelvio that we drove, and James had the chance to drive the Giulia a little while ago as well. So we've had a chance to drive most of the North American vehicles. But yeah, you're right. You kind of hinted at it at the beginning. This being a Dodge Hornet, this from the ground up, a global platform for Stellantis. So when this vehicle platform came out, Alfa Romeo was given this, and they said you got to work with whatever we're giving you. So come up with something that works. And yeah, might not be the truest form of an Alfa Romeo. It's a little bit global now, a little bit more Dodge, and there's quite a bit of MOPAR branding all over this vehicle.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're going to be finding out today, not only does it really live up to that Alfa Romeo name, but is it going to be worth going for the plug-in hybrid? Because first of all, styling wise, 100% this is the best looking subcompact luxury.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Styling is fantastic. You get the headlights, the Alfa Romeo headlights that lights up sequentially. Unfortunately, not the turn signals, but when you turn on the car and turn off the car, each individual block just turns off sequentially. It's fantastic. That's what it's about. It's style. It's a fashion statement. It's overall, it's just the style. It makes you look super cool and super fashionista.
Oh yeah.
The looks are great except for this.
Yeah, that was the first thing. So when I rolled up, this is really the first time I'm seeing one of these. I've never seen one on the road, and I've never driven one. But the first thing I noticed when we came up, when I pulled in here, is the enormous plate bracket at the front there. Obviously, that's the way that it comes. I'm sure everybody who buys this will just take the plate off from the front where you put your tow hook and get a tow hook mounted plate, or run it without a plate if you want to. But that is a enormous piece of plastic.
Yeah, Ontario just really needs to cancel the front plate rules so we can enjoy this car a little bit more.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's probably the only real styling thing that's kind of a bummer on this, and maybe the rear brakes too, because front brakes are Brembo. Rear brakes, not only are there's huge MOPAR on the side there, but they are kind of small.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit too much MOPAR branding on this vehicle. I would have liked to see zero on it, but certainly a lot less than what's on there right now.
So what's under the hood of this vehicle? This is a plug-in hybrid. So this has a turbo 4-cylinder that puts out 180 horsepower on its own, and then an electric motor in the back. Combined, you get 285 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque around there.
Which is pretty good for a subcompact luxury car, right?
Yeah. And because this is a plug-in hybrid, you do get a 15 kilowatt-hour battery in the bottom of the car, in the trunk mainly, and you do get about 50 kilometers of electric-only range, and it is tested. It is real-world, around 50. That's what you would get even in cold weather like Canada. Yeah,
because right now it's hovering around 0 degrees Celsius. So
that's
not too bad. And that's really what I think we're going to be trying to figure out today is the Tonale, there's a lot going on with it, but specifically with this plug-in hybrid, is this the one that somebody should go for? Because we figured it's about $15,000 more with the federal incentive applied to it compared to the regular gas version of this car, right? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, depending on how you spec it, it's about $10,000 to $15,000 more for this one after the Ontario or the federal discounts, and it's hefty. It's a lot of, and it's a lot more money.
Yeah.
This ends up being about 70,000 Canadian dollars here.
Yep.
You could go with the red, the Alfa Romeo red, and save you $2,000, and a slightly smaller rim, which probably gives you a bit better ride quality too. It's also still circular, and that saves you another $2,000. But still, I mean, you know, let's find out if this is worth the extra money.
Absolutely. Let's hit the road and take the Tonale on the streets. All right, we're behind the wheel now of the 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale, and I feel like I'm in the third row of the Toyota Highlander, the Grand Highlander I was just driving, because I don't really fit that well in the front seat of this vehicle. But then again, it's a subcompact luxury crossover. I don't fit in these very well either, so it doesn't really matter. But we are now driving it. Let's talk a little bit about how the experience is behind the wheel. Victor, you've had this all week. What has been your thought on the Tonale?
Right now, I'm in electric mode, and it's very quiet, it's very smooth, and this is where the car shines at doing city commutes in style.
Yeah.
It has enough oomph to get you from point A to point B, especially within the city. The electric power is instant, it's quite nice, and you get enough range. As stated, 50 kilometers, you really do get 50 kilometers, which is fantastic. So in electric, this is a great little commuter vehicle. But this is an Alfa Romeo. You want the character, you want the personality, and that's why you have these fat, super large column-mounted paddle shifters. Unfortunately, this is paired with a 6-speed, relatively slow transmission. So when you do press down, it will. Oh yeah. It takes a second for, first of all, the engine to come on, and then
it goes though.
It goes. But it's not a transmission that I would like to use flappy paddles with. It's not fast enough.
Okay. We do find that with most of the newer luxury cars, because there was this period like 10 years ago where dual clutch transmissions were the thing, and then they kind of got phased out in favor really of the ZF8 HP, which is like the industry standard, as far as I'm concerned, the best that you can get when it comes to an automatic transmission that has good response for flappy paddles. But yeah, like this once I drive it, we'll see. But yeah, we were kind of talking off camera before that I look at this and I almost feel that it's a compliance car. And for those of you who aren't aware of what that means, is basically, you know, especially in today's world where automakers have to have a certain number of either zero emissions or hybrid vehicles, you know, they have to produce these cars that they know aren't necessarily what they want to produce, but they know that they'll get them the scorecards they need from whether it's governments or industry regulators to be able to say, yeah, you've had enough electrics and stuff. So I'm wondering if that's really what this is, because Alfa Romeo is meant to be a car that you don't buy because it makes logical sense to buy it. You buy it because it's an expressive car. It gives you the emotion of driving, and it does something inside of your soul when you buy it and drive it, which a plug-in hybrid I don't feel does in the same way.
Especially this plug-in hybrid.
Yeah.
It is a shared platform with the Dodge Hornet, and it's a platform that was given to Alfa Romeo by Stellantis, really, and it feels like it's a very well overall car. It's a very good all-rounded car. It lacks a little bit of the characters, which we're gonna go and test out to really see what it feels like in turns and twisty roads in a bit. But let's talk about the interior for a little bit. What do you feel? How do you like it, Nile?
I mean, it's certainly not what I would have expected from an Alfa Romeo in terms of the materials. We've got quite hard materials throughout. The trim is all right, but I actually like the fact that we've got physical buttons for the HVAC controls, the DNA controller for Alfa Romeo's drive modes. That's what we would expect to find. And little hints and nods throughout for the Italian heritage of it. Digital gauge cluster looks great as well, and we're using Uconnect 5. So yeah, it's again a shared platform of infotainment systems throughout Stellantis now. It seems to be fine, just not quite as responsive as you'd like. You know, it needs a little bit more computing power. But aside from the physical size, which is what you get in this segment, I mean, it's decent, but for $70,000, I feel that it's just a little too much plastic for $70K.
Yeah, that's the general consensus that I have too with this vehicle. It's a little bit too much hard plastic. When there are leather, it's nice and soft, so I enjoy it. And then obviously you have this very nice Alfa Romeo embroidery here on the headrest. That's a nice touch. I like the screens. The screens, it's a bit slow to respond, so the processor should be, you know, a slightly better one. But the information is there. That's what I want, you know, the option to have a lot of information. You can turn it all off and just make it super simple cluster with nothing but your map or nothing but basically your RPMs and your speed. But you also get information like, you know, your fuel economy, your detailed fuel economy with battery trip meters and gas trip meters separated. You know exactly what the car is doing at this particular moment, whether if the engine is on, it's using electric powers, so on and so forth, boost, PSI, all of that information, it's great to have. And the steering wheel looks cool. I mean, you get this big flappy paddles, it's metal, it's cold to the touch.
Oh yeah.
It's a signature from Alfa Romeo and I love it. It's great. And your start-stop, your engine start is on the steering wheel, which at first it was a bit difficult to get used to, but now that I'm in, I feel really cool pressing it when my left hand is on the steering wheel and just pressing the start. It's just missing the rumble when you start.
And that's, you know, we kind of had that. I had that same opinion too when I drove the regular version of the Stelvio, and then, you know, I said it didn't really make sense to buy this, and then it made sense when I drove the Quadrifoglio. I think it's still going to be kind of the same thing with this, that, you know, you're getting something special, but it's not quite, you can't quite compare it to a Mercedes or a BMW or an Audi because it is more of an exotic vehicle here in North America. So you're not going to buy it because it makes sense, but then you kind of have to, because it's what I keep coming back to, is with the plug-in hybrid being more expensive than the regular version, it kind of does need to make sense. So, you know, we're here in town. It seems to work pretty well here in town, and I think that we've come to the conclusion that as a plug-in hybrid, it's a good vehicle. As a commuter, this would be a good vehicle. I think we need to go take it on some twisty roads now and figure out, is it a good Alfa Romeo?
That's right. Let's cut to. Now we're in the twisty roads. I am in dynamic mode, and this vehicle has 2-stage dampers, so this is the hard settings. And it does have some decent power.
Oh yeah.
For this segment, really, it's class leading, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean, well, you know, because what else would you really be comparing this to? Like, it's not quite like AMG level, right? Because this isn't really like a performance version, so you can't really compare it to like a GLA-45. But then there's not much else, like a BMW X1, and then also having the plug-in hybrid. Like, it's one of those weird kind of vehicles that, you know, you're going to be considering it because there isn't really anything else to compare it to. You're going to buy it because you're kind of interested in this type of thing. But yeah, so far you've got both kind of performance and plug-in hybrid, and it seems to handle pretty well for being a small vehicle such as this.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is still predominantly a front-wheel bias car. I'm not super impressed with the handling and the dynamics of the vehicle. I think an Alfa Romeo should be a bit more fun. This is very capable, by all means, but it's lacking a little bit of a personality. Why don't we try a sort of a launch?
Sure. I'm never going to say no to that.
We're in dynamic mode again, and then let's come to a stop and see what this vehicle gives us. 285 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. Let's find out.
Oh yeah. Not bad considering that we got two people in here too, right? Like, I'm not the best when it comes to doing 0 to 100 tests, but that was pretty quick. I mean, off the line, not too bad overall. So again, like, if you're buying it for performance, it is there. So you get, I guess, the best you get the best of both worlds in the sense that you've got both options. I don't know if it's the best in terms of performance, and it's not really the best in terms of plug-in hybrid, but it's a good mix between the two.
Yeah, so this vehicle in this spec does 0 to 100 kilometers in about 5.5 seconds, which is plenty.
That's decent.
For size like this. You're getting 285 horsepower in something like a Kia Seltos size.
Yeah.
You know, something like a GLA size, which, you know, it's significantly more than what Mercedes offers as a base engine, and this is obviously not the base engine, but you know, you get the best of both worlds, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, Mercedes doesn't have a GLA plug-in here, and BMW doesn't have anything. The X1 doesn't have a plug-in yet. So I mean, like, you know, again, it's kind of in its own little segment. Handles it pretty well, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's the steering is sharp, the turn-in is sharp. Paired with the Pilot Sport All Seasons, it does a really good job gripping the ground. The suspension is firm, but not bouncy. Mm-hmm. On normal roads, you would probably want to keep it in the softer settings. It's still on the firmer side for day-to-day use. However, when you're taking some corners like that, it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the turbo engine does give you some noise from the back. You know, it's not a lot, but they've tried.
Yeah, dig where they could, right? Like, there's not much, even with the 2-liter. I mean, it's a little bit, but, you know, smaller displacement engines, they're just never going to sound as good as the big roars of V8s or bigger, which we're never going to get again.
Yeah, that's right.
Alrighty, so I was telling Victor before we started filming that it's probably been a couple of years since I drove any sort of Alfa Romeo, and it would have been the Quadrifoglio from the Stelvio before, so obviously quite a bit of a difference between that and this, but that is no problem. So we've done some twisty stuff, we've done some performance stuff. Now I just want to see like how I think that this feels, and first thing that I noticed when I got in is I do feel a little bit better in the driver's seat, which is kind of to be expected. But yeah, I mean, like, it feels kind of like what I would expect an Alfa to feel like, but yeah, I mean, like, it's just different, right? It's a small vehicle. It's not anything wrong with that. I mean, small is always good. We like talking about the little cars, but it's not like it's small and affordable. It's $70K, right? It's kind of pricey, but yeah, steering wheel feel pretty decent. Flappy paddles, can't go wrong with metal flappy paddles. But yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I was excited about this car as somebody who is a fan of Formula One. You know, the Formula One team, formerly known as Alfa Romeo, was advertising the crap out of this car during the previous season, and I don't know if it really paid off. I guess they advertised it so much that the whole team folded. It's no longer Alfa Romeo, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's a strange one because the performance is more or less there. I don't know if I have the complete confidence to really chuck this into any corners, though. Like, even though it's got the tires for it, like, I think realistically that this is the type of car for somebody who wants something that's just, they don't want a BMW, they don't want a Mercedes, they want something that really does stand out, and nothing will stand out more in this segment than this car.
Oh yeah, I think this stands out even more than a Maserati. I mean,
I think so. Well, yeah, because those kind of,
the looks is just so in your face, right? The tri-light bulbs looks fantastic.
Well, and even the rear end too. Like, we didn't really talk about that, but you know, the full LED light bar that goes across meets right at the point where the Alfa Romeo logo is. Yeah, it's just, there is thought and care certainly put into the design. And again, that's what we were sort of talking about a little bit before. Is Alfa Romeo has taken a platform that maybe they weren't super excited about and did the best that they could with it and put out something that is enjoyable to drive.
Yeah, I do think they put in a huge amount of effort into designing this car. The details, you know, because this is a plug-in hybrid, they turned the little snake on their Alfa Romeo logo into a little charger, which is a super neat touch, and I find it very, very entertaining to find it on the car like this. You know, overall, this is a very good day-to-day vehicle. I think it's lacking a little bit of the characteristics of a traditional Alfa Romeo, but this is probably similar to the Mito, the little hatchback that they come out with in the European space a while ago. It was more of a commuter car, but it still brought the style, and this definitely brings the style. The headlights, taillights now align with all of the Alfa Romeo lineup with the 3 block headlights. It looks great. The back seat is a little bit flat. I think it's missing a little bit of support. It's very bench seat.
Yeah.
For something that's a little bit more sporty oriented, I would expect a bit more bolstering from the back seat. You sit very high in the back, and you also sit very straight up, and that's something that potentially could be improved down the line with slightly more space in the back, maybe next generation. But overall, this is a pretty decent car.
Yeah, I think you're going to be considering this again if you want something different. Would we recommend it? I don't know. I mean, only you can tell, but you know, we are going to try to book the regular non-plug-in hybrid version to see, is it going to be a better buy for the price point and for what you get out of the vehicle. So stay tuned for that. We do know there is one on the fleet. We're just going to see if we can line it up, and we'll tell you how it is compared to this. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I'm glad that I had the chance to drive it. I'm excited to have had the chance. I'd have loved to drive this for a week because you're going to be getting a lot of attention. So if that's what you're really after, then this is the way to go.
Yeah, the attention is crazy.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so parking it in a parking lot, everybody's taking out their phones, taking photos potentially because they've never seen a car like this, especially not in this color.
Nope.
But the question is, Dodge Hornet or this?
Yeah.
I would say in the Canadian market, it's always going to be this one.
Yeah.
The price point is very similar. This is spec to spec, about $2,000 more, $2,000 or $3,000 more Canadian. Really, why would you not spend that extra $2,000 to buy the Alfa Romeo name?
Yeah.
Reliability and stuff like that, obviously as expected with an Alfa Romeo, but because it's a shared platform with the Hornet, you're probably going to experience the same thing, same little minor problems there as well. So you might as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that much of a difference between this, and I haven't seen too many Hornets on the road either. So yeah, if you're going for styling, if you're going for something that really is different and unique, absolutely get this compared to that. But yeah, I mean, I think only time will tell to see how this stacks up. You know, so far it's an interesting option from Alfa Romeo. It's an interesting option from Stellantis, and we'll see if buyers are interested in it, and we'll see once we get the 2-liter engine to see how that compares to this.
That pretty much wraps it up for us today here on Test Drive. This is an 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale. Let us know how you think this car is going to stack up against the Dodge Hornet, and what do you like about the looks? What do you not like about the looks? How do you feel about the huge paddle shifters? And comment down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.